Homelander is a shit villain. And before anyone comes at me, this isn't about Anthony Starr. He's always been incredible in this role. But the writing, bro, the writing is a problem. The entire season was built around one thing. If Homelander gets the V1, it's over. That was the threat hanging over most episodes this season. So when he finally gets it, you're expecting things to kick off, right? Run. He does nothing. The show spent the whole season telling us that this was the worst case scenario, and when it happens, he just walks around being slightly more smug for a few episodes. All that build up for a villain who sits on his hands until the plot needs him, and then the final fight happens and the power scaling just falls apart. Earlier this season, the man cuts Kimiko in half. Then he flies a billionaire to actual space in the same finale episode that we're talking about. The V1, even if you want to say the V1 didn't make him stronger, it was at least meant to make him more reckless now that the virus can't threaten him. And let's not forget, Bombsight absolutely cooked Butcher earlier in the season. And Bombsight is not meant to be anywhere near Homelander's level. Homelander's meant to be the clear number one. So if Butcher got folded that easily by someone significantly weaker, how was he holding his own against the most powerful soup on the planet who just took V1? So Homelander's fighting for his life in the finale, V1 in his system, and he blasts Butcher and Kimiko back a little bit with his heat vision, like a little light shove, just knocks them back. He tries to fly away at 4 miles per hour when he just took a guy to space 30 minutes ago in the episode, in like 2 seconds. But in the final fight, every time he tries to fly away, he keeps getting stopped because he's moving slowly enough for regular people on the ground to catch him, or at least regular speed soups. This is the same guy who caught A-Train, who's keeping up with him, and A-Train has bullet time. This guy can travel at super duper speed. Sure, A-Train was faster, but Homelander was right there, he was keeping up with him. And then in the final episode, he's flying away at the speed of a snail. How does this make sense? The show never explains it. His powers are just whatever the plot needs it to be at the time. And here's the thing, even if you buy that the V1 didn't make him stronger, which is cool, fair enough, it still should have changed how he fights. Before the V1, the virus was literally the only thing that could threaten him outside of Soldier Boy, who's already said that he's not gonna go after him. That's a real psychological constraint. The moment that's gone, he should have nothing to fear. He should have been completely reckless, fighting like nothing in that room can hurt him, because realistically, nothing should have been able to hurt him. We even saw in the Frenchie death episode how fast he was. They've shown multiple times throughout the last 5 seasons how fast Homelander is. I don't understand how Butcher and Kimiko are even able to keep up with him in any way. Sure, Ryan is his son, so it kind of makes sense with Ryan. But Butcher 1v1'd him for a decent amount of time in that finale. It makes no sense. This writing is shit, bro. The God allegory for a Superman archetype has been done to death. I'm so sick of seeing this shit. The comics did it decades ago. Man of Steel did it. Batman vs Superman did it. Justice League, Zack Snyder's Justice League did it. The boys spent 4 seasons being subversive and somehow landed on the most predictable thematic direction possible for its final arc. Nothing that justified using this specific angle for the finale. It just happened and wrapped up without any real consequence. What the fuck was the point of the God arc? The biggest waste within this arc is All Father. There was actually something interesting there. All season you can see the cracks. He's pushing back on Homelander a little bit. He tried to argue that he can convert these people instead of killing them. You see how uncomfortable it feels with how many non-believers there were and how many of them are going to be killed. Ashley is trying to get her telepathic tumor to read his mind to see if he can be flipped. The show was clearly setting up a man whose faith is breaking from the inside. And as much as I don't like the whole Superman God arcs, this was at least the interesting part of it. So how does it end? He gets killed by a super-powered ball gag in a joke scene with MM and Huey. A character who could have had a genuinely interesting arc right in the middle of the season's central theme gets killed for a gag. It was just so disappointing, man. The Boys has always mixed dark comedy with real drama before, and it's worked, but this just felt like they didn't know what to do with the character and the arc in general and needed him gone, so they just killed him in a goofy, gory way. Now, moving on to Butcher's death. It was never really questioned. Everyone knew going into the final season, Butcher and Homelander would die. The problem is that the writers couldn't figure out how to get there convincingly. So it ended up feeling like exactly what it was. A conclusion decided in advance and then reverse engineered. Butcher in season 4, especially by the end, was just properly dark. Hard to root for even. By season 5, he's kind of softened back into someone likable and almost redeemable. Reminiscent of like his season 1 or 2 self. And that's fine, I'm not necessarily complaining about that specifically, but the writers still needed him to find a way to spiral back into self-destruction to justify the ending that they clearly already planned. And that turn just wasn't believable, given where he was at. So Ryan shows up and hurts his feelings, and then Terra dies, and he just decides, yeah, fuck it, I'm gonna snap, let me put the cape back on. This didn't feel like a story, it felt like mechanics, it felt so artificial. It just felt like a way to get him in that tower so they can have the one-on-one conversation and allow it, man. This shit stinks, man. This shit stinks, man. The writers knew that the turn back to Dark Butcher didn't make sense, which is why they had to hit us with the double gut punch of Ryan saying that he doesn't want to be with him, and then the Terror death. And it's just not believable. I don't believe that Terror died and then Ryan telling him he doesn't want to be with him that's the thing that makes him turn, really? Instead of doing the slower work of getting him there properly, they just manufactured the moment. This entire finale just felt like they had a checklist and they were just taking things off the checklist. Now, moving on to Kimiko. I loved Kimiko's character for the first 4 seasons. This season ruined her. The whole TikTok speech, just talking about dicks and balls all day, was just annoying, bro. How do you go from season 4, we finally hear her speak for the first time, which was genuinely one of the most interesting choices in the show. It was so tragic. Her whole dynamic with Frenchie was built around it, and when she finally spoke for the first time, it was when Frenchie got taken. It was a moment of trauma. It was kind of like a full circle. And it hit at the end of season. Say what you want about season 4, but that moment hit at the end of season 4. Years of build up. Then the next time we see her, she's talking regular, and the characters are rightfully shocked and ask her, how did you learn to speak? And she says TikTok, and now she's just talking about dick and balls all season.
Speech therapy and therapy and so much TikTok.
Well, you sure sound like you're on TikTok.
16-hour flight and not a peep.
Because all you can say is oi oi oi, cut.
Like the better with a mouth shut.
A hot minute to regrow. They found my asshole like a mile away.
One of the most meaningful character traits in the show resolved off-screen via TikTok? Are you fucking kidding me? Alright, moving on to Gen V. Going into this season, Marie was built up as a Homelander level threat, coming through the same program, a new generation of supes entering the world with Marie's powers fully developed, and there was real potential there. Then Gen V got cancelled and all those characters got thrown away. And I just don't understand why. It doesn't matter if the show got cancelled, you've already done the building. All you have to do is the payoff. This is the easiest part, you've already done the build up. But we know why. They needed to hype up this bitch ass prequel that I don't think anyone's gonna watch. Look, it's not the writer's fault that the show got cancelled. That's on the network, fair enough. But it felt like they just pretended Gen V didn't happen. The most frustrating thing about how Marie and Gen V were treated is that she could have single-handedly fixed 2 of the biggest problems in this season. And not problems for the characters, I mean problems in the fucking writing. Number 1, if you put Marie in that Oval Office fight scene with Homelander, it makes way more sense. Her power set means she could realistically ground Homelander, control his blood or fuck with him in some way. She's meant to be a Homelander level soup, so she could fuck with him in some way, hold his blood down, make his blood thicker, whatever she needed to do. Weaken him in some way, which makes him not being able to get away more believable. That fixes the power scaling issue without making him look weak. He's not slow, he's being held. Big difference. Then you can have Homelander knock her out or whatever, which is completely believable given the gap between the two, because even though has the potential to be a Homelander level soup, she might not be there yet. He's like fucking 45. It makes sense. She's not as developed as he is. She could do enough damage that leads to Kimiko blasting him with the Soldier Boy ability from the sidelines, stripping him of his powers, and then you can have the ending with Butcher and the Crowbar, etc. That's the version of the finale that makes sense. It closes the Gen V storyline, fixes the power scaling, and gives Marie an actual ending. The pieces were all there, but we threw it away for Vought Rising, so let's fucking talk about this. We're in the final season of The Boys, so why are we spending episode time on characters from a prequel show most people don't know about? Who cares what Clara wants? I get it. Bombsat was a cool character, but I don't care. You can't drop prequel characters into a finale or penultimate episode and expect people to care. Every minute with those characters just felt like a backdoor pilot. I watched the Arrowverse. I've seen backdoor pilots done well. And that's the Arrowverse. And all the time we spend on those characters is time taken away from Starlight, Huey, Butcher, Marie, etc. The final season, half the final season felt like a promotion or promotional material for this fucking prequel show that I'm not gonna watch.